सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। कस्मिन् भगवो विज्ञाते सर्वमिदं विज्ञातं भवति इति। Okay, that reminds me. समुद्रको है महाशालः अंगिरसं विधिवत् उपसन्नः पप्रच्छ। शौनकः महागृहस्थः approached sage Angirasa in a due manner, papracha, and asked this question: Kasmin bhagavo vijñāte sarvamidam vijñātam bhavati iti. O Venerable Sir, what is it? Or is there something knowing which everything becomes known? So the question is, why? What is the relevance of this? Why does one want to know everything? Here by knowledge you understand that to know something is to recognize it for what it is. And I'm constantly interacting with everything or interacting with the world. And therefore, better I know who I'm interacting with, more appropriate my interaction will be. And therefore, what is it? Is there I've heard that it is one that manifests as many, Is that so? That is one truth that manifests as all these names and forms? If that is so, what is it? And understand, the beauty of Vedanta is not only tells us that Brahman is one that manifests as all names and forms, further says that Brahman is my own self. It is I who manifests as this universe of names and forms. All there is I. Although the first formula is Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, all this is Ishvara. Second formula is Ishvara is myself. Therefore the final formula is whatever is I. There is no distance at all between I and myself. Therefore there is no distance whatever between I and whatever else there is. So far I thought that everything was different from me because I judge myself based on this upadhi or my costume, thinking that that is how much I am. And that is how I always felt a sense of confinement, confined to this body-mind sense complex, always feeling a sense of limitedness, separateness, therefore inadequacy, want, lack. All these feelings about myself were caused by my conclusion that I am confined to this body-mind complex. And all those feelings always made me sad. Every feeling about myself where I feel I am limited, confined, divided, separated, not included, I feel sad. And therefore my life is usually a life of sadness because as Mundakaopanishad says, Brahmavatam paradat yah brahma atmahanyatra pashyati. Brahma means Brahmana, somebody, he rejects me. Whenever I look upon someone as different from me, then I meet with rejection. No, Swami, we don't reject you. You may not deliberately reject me. But certainly you say, Swami, that is where you are and that's where I am. Meaning that this is what I am and therefore you are not within this, you are not included in this. So looking upon you as separate from me amounts to excluding you from me, and the response is that you exclude me. It's not that we do this deliberately, this happens. Habitually, I look upon myself as confined to this body-mind complex, and therefore look upon what is outside the body is different from me. I am not that. Moment I say or I think that I am not this, means that has no place here. Meaning that is not included here. Therefore, all my vyavahara is based on excluding everything. Unfortunately, I am punished for that, in that I am excluded by the world. Brahmatam paradat yah brahma atmana anyatra pashyati. Brahma means Brahmana, XYZ, rejects me whenever I look upon that entity as different from me. There is no attempt to reject, it automatically happens. My behavior, etc., will reflect that I am not included in you. I look upon you as different from me, and then that is where you are, this is where I am. And so this is how we live our life. And therefore the most practical application of Vedanta is to ultimately eliminate this sense of separateness, sense of exclusion. Because when I and you are one, then in I everything is included. That is the knowledge that the Upanishad imparts. And how does it happen? When my conclusion about I gets transformed. As long as my conclusion is that I is confined to this, so long I do not separately have to think that you are different. Automatically everything outside that boundary is thought as different, meaning is excluded. Therefore, my true dimension is revealed by Upanishad. That don't judge yourself based on this costume. This is a costume. You are the one putting on this costume. Costume is given to you to play your roles. On the stage of the world, you have to play the roles. An actor always has to come with a costume. He cannot come on the stage without costume. And therefore, Paramatma has to come with costume. So don't judge yourself. Then all of a sudden that fellow starts saying, I'm a beggar. He looks at himself in the mirror. Oh, I'm a beggar. And this is how we judge ourselves based on costume, not realizing this is a costume. And therefore, this teaching is to help us become free from all the complexes that we entertain about ourselves. And each one of these complexes is the source of sorrow. Now the next mantra that we are going to take up Mundakaopanishad, Prasamah Khanda. It is 6th in the series of passages. No, it is 8. Starting a new page. Tadetat satyam yatha sudiptat pavakat visfulingaha sahasrashah prabhavante sarupaha tatha aksharat vividaha soumya bhavaha prajayante tatra chaiva apiyanti. Tadetat satyam. Satyam means truth. If you remember, just on the previous page, same expression was tadetat satyam. So, when the Upanishad talked about karma, then also it is satyam. Now it's talking about Brahma, so it was relative reality also called satyam. Here now Upanishad is talking about the absolute reality and says satyam. Just for our understanding that even though the words are the same, tadetat satyam, the word satyam does not mean the same in both the cases. Earlier satyam means relative truth. This satyam is the paramarthik or absolute truth. So this is the absolute truth. Now, the Upanishad, the Shruti, the teacher, wants to explain to us how, even though we confront all these countless entities, sentient, insentient, countless names and forms, how in fact they are one in spite of appearing as countless. Here is an example of how one can or one does appear as many without becoming many. without becoming many, there is an appearance of many. So just as that appears many does not mean there has to be many. And so also, just as so many names and forms, sentient, insentient, appear before me, does not mean that there has to be so many Atmas. So many costumes are there. So upadhis, so many upadhis are there. Does not mean that so many Chaitanya has to be there. Since so far I've been equating Chaitanya that I am with this body or upadhi that I am, and looking upon myself as confined to this upadhi, this costume, I similarly look upon you as confined to that costume. I am a limited entity, you are a limited entity, each one is different from the other. If this did not cause any problem in our life, then we need not worry about it. Unfortunately, as we said earlier, this separateness, this division, this mutual exclusion creates all the problems, all emotional problems. Intellectual problem usually doesn't bother much, doesn't cause much unhappiness. It is the emotional problems that cause unhappiness. This is the source of all emotional problems. So here in the passage that we just read, Upanishad gives an example of how one appears as many without becoming many. Tadetat satyam. Now we are talking about the satyam, paramadika satyam, absolute reality, which is Brahman, which is whatever name you give. The word Brahman, Brahma, is derived from the root bruh. Bruhi vruddhau in the sense of vruddhi, the sense of growth, in the sense of bigness. So Brahman is that, means that which is big. How big? Unqualified big, meaning limitless. So call it Brahman, call it limitless. So limitless is the truth. Limited is not the truth. Limitless is the truth of what is taken to be a limited entity. We cannot even suspect that I, who in my opinion is such a small, insignificant entity, constantly struggling to become significant, become visible. I want the world to take note of me, of my accomplishments, how great and where I am, etc., etc. All the time struggling to become significant because I have concluded I am insignificant. Whole of my life goes in becoming significant, seeking attention, seeking appreciation, seeking praise, whatever is my definition of significant. And that is endless struggle. Regardless of how much recognition I gain, I never feel that I am sufficiently recognized. Upanishad says, you don't need to. So how one can appear as many, for that is beautiful illustration is given here. Yatha sudiptat pavakat, pavaka means fire. Sudiptat pavakat, sudipta, sustudipta, fully blazed. Just as with fire that is fully blazed, Vishfulingaha sarupaha sahasrasah prabhavante. From a well-lit fire, the sparks fly off in many directions, countless sparks fly off. If that log of wood is moist, then a lot of smoke will come out. If the log of wood is dry, then it splits into small little pieces. And that's how many sparks, fly off from that log of wood, from fire. From one fire, countless sparks fly off. What is a spark? A tiny little thing, isn't it? So there are two aspects in that spark. One is that spark also is bright, shining, and hot. So spark also can burn something as much as fire can burn. Spark also falls in a heap of cotton. This cotton gins. So in ginning the cotton, then there are heaps and heaps of them. Sometimes an accident can happen. One spark falls. In course of time, the whole thing catches fire. Meaning that the spark has the same capacity as fire. Spark is nothing but fire. As far as the true nature of fire is concerned, fire means heat and light. That is what we call fire. Although if you want to demonstrate fire, we show a flame's shape, that this is fire. It's not that shape that we call fire. If you draw that shape on some paper, you don't call it fire. Even if it's orange, you don't call it fire. What is fire? The principle of heat and light is called fire. It may come in any form. Commonly it comes in the form of flame. It can come in any form. So here is blazing fire. From that, countless sparks emerge because the log of wood splits into small little particles. Each particle carries fire and therefore looks like, what is a spark? A small particle of wood carrying fire. Is that right? What is a spark? So when many sparks emerge from a log of wood, what's happening there, The wood splits into many, small little particles. Each particle associated with fire is called spark. So what is a spark? A little tiny particle of wood associated with fire. So tell me, what is the reality of a spark? Is tininess the reality of spark? Or the heat and fire that a spark displays, is that the reality? The spark, what's the reality? What is reality? Which cannot be negated. So what's the reality? Is the size, the tininess, is that the reality? Or the heat and the light which the spark manifests, is that the reality? So what is fire? Heat and light. What is spark? Why do you call it spark? If heat and light is fire, then that entity also should be called fire, is it not so? You call it spark? Not based on what it is, based on what it appears to be. What it is heat and light. What appears to be are those tiny little things, and therefore the tininess is given reality, and therefore we think that there are countless sparks, or that the fire has split into a number of sparks. That is the, conclusion, the notion or perception that takes place in our mind. Understand that in life, what is not so important as how I perceive it. What is not as important as the way I perceive it. What is a person. I perceive the person as a friend. There are some kind of feelings I have. I perceive the person as a stranger. Different feelings. Oh, same fellow who did this to me last time. He's my enemy. Then different feelings emerge. Person is the same. What determines what feelings come from me? My perception. Understand that we live in a world of our own perceptions. It is not what there is really determines how I react or respond. It is how I perceive that determines how I respond. You follow this? We do not live in this world. We live in the world of what? Our own individual subjective perceptions. Meaning that we do not live in the same world. Is it not so? I live in my subjective world of perception and you live in yours. And how do I respond? Not to what you are or who you are, the way I perceive who you are. Meaning that even when I interact with the world, it is not what the world is that determines how I respond. It is how I perceive the world that determines how I respond. And that is what Upanishad seeks to change. Upanishad doesn't seek to change that the whole world is turned into one Brahman, something like that. That's just not the intention that something is merged. Swami, so what is this non-duality? Everything merges into one. Some kind of physical transformation takes place in this, what I perceive. Does a wise person see things differently from what we perceive? His eyes also give the same data that our eyes give. His sense organs give the same data that our sense organs give. But it is not just the data the sense organs give, it is the way I interpret what comes before me. So what is important is the way I interpret what it is that I encounter. That is where the Upanishad wants to help us. There is no need to change the world, no need to merge it into one, some such thing. That is not necessary. What is one. I am perceiving it as many. So Upanishad seeks to change my perception. Therefore the example is given, Yatha sudiptat pavakata pavakat visfulinga sahasrasha prabhavante. How from a well-lit fire, a fire that is ablaze, sparks in thousands fly out from that log of wood. The last word in that line is sarupaha. What is sarupaha? Sarupaha, yes? Same form. Right? Same form as fire means what? Yes? So therefore, sarupaha, same rupa is there. The spark has the same rupa, same form, same nature as the fire. The nature of fire is heat and light, So spark also has the same nature, heat and light. So is there such an entity called spark? What do we have there? There is something tiny, but does tininess belong to fire or does tininess belong to that little particle of wood? I see a tiny spark and I think that the fire is divided into many sparks, but is fire divided? Or is the wooden log divided? It is a wooden log because of its heat, therefore splits into many particles. And that creates an appearance of the fire being divided into many sparks. Understand this. It is not that the fire is divided. If fire is divided, then each spark would have a different nature. Each spark has same nature, heat and light. And still we feel there are many sparks. What creates that notion of many? It is the wooden particles that are many. In Vedanta it's called upadhi. Upadhi is that which lends its nature to something else. So here those tiny little particles lend their nature to fire and create an appearance of tiny particles of fire. What is tiny? Tiny particles of wood, that's what they are. But they impart their nature to fire and create an appearance of the tiny particles of fire. So that's how we feel that fire is split into hundreds of sparks. That's the example. We have to deliberate upon this example. But has the fire really split into many? Or even when the fire appears as split into many, in reality what has split is wood and not fire? This is very important, this distinction as to where the division belongs is very important. The division belongs into the wood, called upadhi. Well, upadhi because manyness of wooden particle creates the appearance of manyness of fire. The upadhi creates an appearance, Imagine there is a crystal, imagine. And I place a cloth beside the crystal, an orange. Do you know how the crystal would look like? If I place an orange cloth near the crystal appears orange, does it? I guess that must be clear. That much we can imagine in our mind. Imagine a crystal in Swamiji's hand, and the cloth is placed beside that chair. No, that won't work. That doesn't matter. Oh, they are all intelligent enough, They are not children. So that is why one Mahatma in Haridwar commented upon style of teaching. He said, look at this, ye log sab karte hain. When these people teach, they have an actual part. He says, now in Hindi, we always talk of ghata, pata, sab baat karte hain. But these people display a ghata, a part. They display a crystal. They display this. He was quite amazed, at this style of teaching. These Mahatmas, they don't, when they travel, they have nothing with them. When we travel, a whole retinue travels with us. This is all here because Swami is here. In case there was no Swami here, then all that would have come with me. But the point is how a colored cloth creates an appearance of coloredness in crystal without actually coloring the crystal. Therefore, when a crystal appears orange, there can be two possibilities. Either the entity is orange, or if I place an orange cloth in nearby vicinity of crystal, the crystal also may appear orange. The orangeness belongs where? Does it belong to crystal? Belongs to the cloth. See, look at this. This poor crystal has no freedom. The crystal has no freedom. It is the substance that is placed beside the crystal that determines how the crystal will look like, Poor Atma has no freedom. Is this cloth the body, mind, sense, upadhi? That determines how Atma looks like. Not or to understand that crystal does not become orange. The cloth cannot change the crystal. It only creates an appearance in crystal. But if you do not know the appearance, then you would think that the crystal is orange. Sometimes the crystal shivering, So one morning the priest has placed yellow flowers around that. You have the darshan of Lord Shiva, yellow. Next day the red flowers, looks red. A third day some blue flowers, looks blue. Wow! Your Shiva, Lord Shiva is really miraculous. Every day he changes colors. But poor Lord Shiva has no freedom as to how to appear. How it appears is determined by the devotees, by the flowers. So also Atma is clearer than crystal, more transparent than crystal. And these entities, this body, mind, sense, like a cloth placed in the vicinity, they create an appearance in Atma. I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect, I am Ahankara, I am an individual, I am small, I am limited. Now, is that an appearance or is that the reality of I? It is an appearance. We take appearance to be real, and that's how we spend the whole life. Is it not so? Therefore, they want us to distinguish between what the true nature of Atma is and what is creating that false perception. It's called Anatma. Atma, Anatma, Vivek. Here, the sparks are given as examples. There are two elements. One element is fire, the principle of heat and light. Other element is the tiny little particle of wood. The tininess does not belong to fire. The tininess belongs to the particle of wood. The maniness does not belong to fire. The maniness belongs to the wood. But how those particles create an appearance of maniness in fire and tininess in fire, that's important. So we think that the fire is split into many. So tatha, similarly, second line of the pantra says, tatha aksharat vividaha sumibhavaha prajayante. Tatha means similarly. Aksharat, from aksharam, from the immutable, from Brahman. So here the word akshara, immutable, is used to indicate the absolute reality. So Brahman is limitless. Limitless is that naturally which is not subject to change or modification, otherwise it will become limited. So here often the word akshara, akshara means immutable, imperishable, changeless. What Upanishad means is that there is an immutable principle, a changeless principle in the midst of everything that is changing. What we experience is change. Hey, even though you experience change, that change is not the reality. What's the reality? Changeless is the reality. Although you seem to experience, you feel that you experience manyness, understand that diversity, that manyness is not the reality, it is the one that is reality. But just as this cloth, the upadhi, creates an appearance in the crystal, so also these upadhis create the appearance of many, like the sparks. There's so many sparks of consciousness. We are all, so who are we? Each one of us is a spark of consciousness. Is it not so? We are a spark of consciousness, are we not? Each one is a spark of consciousness. Is it not so? Which upadhi? Yes. That is the body-mind complex. So, the sparkness belongs where? To the consciousness. Has this fire really split into many? No. That manyness is an appearance created by the particles of wood called upadhi. So also manyness of the Atma or consciousness is created by this upadhi, like a particle of wood. And so it's many bodies that create the appearance of manyness in consciousness, not that consciousness is many. Shankaracharya gives another example, very fond of giving another example. This is a pot, and within this pot, what do we have? Pot space. Within the pot, there is pot space, right? Is everybody awake and listening? And then there is another pot. Okay, I can reach out. And then another pot. Another pot space, right? Space within the pot is called pot space. So this is part X, part Y. So X part space, Y part space, A, B, C, D, there any number of parts can be there, there are already half a dozen here. So how many part spaces are there here? As many parts, as many part spaces are. Is it not so? The way I look is this is no, No, that's not the point, not to scare you or intimidate you. Are there many parts? No, there are not. Our Magar Sahib used to say, they used to this community feast. And then they're serving, towards the end, the main dish, it may be, let us say, payasam, is almost over. That's the last round. He doesn't have anything inside. Do you want it? Do you want it? He said, no, I don't want it. The way he will appear, Do you want it? No, I don't want it. He'll come back, he says, nobody wants it. In fact, he doesn't have anything. That's a way to intimidate some. No, I'm not intimidating. But I'm saying, so there is this part, there is part space. Another part space. And there can be even the room space also. As many enclosures are there, that many, this is an enclosure. What is an enclosure? The space enclosed in the pot is called pot space. It is called ghatakasham. This room is called matha, matha. The space enclosed in this hall is called Mathakasha. This is called pata. Pata means a cloth. Space enclosed in the cloth is patakasha. So ghatakasha, patakasha, mathakasha. That's all Vedantins have. Ghata, pata, matha. That's all the three things they require. Ghatakasha, patakasha, mathakasha. This is their word. And rope and snake, this is their word. What did Shankaracharya had? What property did he have? What possession did he have to show to his students? I am sure that there must be a pot of water in which they fill water, and keep food. That water must be pulled out from a well, so you need a rope to lower that pot and then pull it up. So ghata is there, rope is there. He wears what? Anangavastra is called pata, cloth. There is a little hut in which he lives called matha. Ghata, pata, matha, the rope, and snake. That's all a Vedanta needs to communicate everything. So, just as there are as many part spaces as many parts are, right? The space enclosed in a part is called a part space, and how many part spaces are there? As many parts are there. Every part is an enclosure, and the space enclosed in the part is called part space. So how many spaces are there? As many enclosures are there. Right? I mean, when I ask like this, I know, so they suspect this cannot be so. Good? Aren't there as many part spaces, any parts are there? Aren't there as many part spaces as many parts are there? Yeah. Is it appearance? Hmm? Using experience part space? What is part space? Space confined in the part. That's called part space. The fact that you're using the expression part space means that in your mind there is that space confined to the part. You say mathakasha. There is space confined to this hall. Patakasha, space confined to the cloth. So space confined in many enclosures, as many enclosures are there, that many spaces are there. You know that is not so. It is not the part space. The part has a magical effect of creating a notion in our mind that there is space confined within the part, and that is called part space. But you know very well, part space is not confined in anything. It is not that the space is in the part. In fact, it is part that is in the. But how, even though it is part that is in space, how in our mind the notion that is created is part space? So it is this body that is in consciousness. The notion that is created is what? Consciousness is within this body. Is it not so? What is not important. How I perceive is important. Understand? For my life. What is gold. I think it is copper or it is, brass. It's as good as that. So, just as space appears to be divided into many enclosures, as many enclosures are there, it appears to be divided without being divided. The division is an appearance in space because a part cannot cut the space. It's not available for division. You can't divide the space. You can erect walls and say this is bedroom space and kitchen space, but the space doesn't get divided. Here, the wall is able to create a notion here that this is, architects create spaces. What job in an architect? To create spaces. So when you go to a space called bedroom, there is that certain feeling. Go to a space called the dining hall. I don't know if there is an architect around here, but then that's what they do. When you go to dining hall space. It creates some kind of a thing in you. Living room, family room, playroom. That's an architect who creates spaces. Or how can you create spaces? But that's what they do. What I'm saying is that how you can play and think that space is divided into many. In fact, that division is only in our mind, not in reality, because space is indivisible. Nothing can divide the space. So also, part cannot divide the space. So also, that particle cannot divide the fire. And so also, this particle, this body sense complex cannot divide the consciousness. But we think that I'm conscious being confined to this body. This conscious being confined to that body. This is what we think. That's what our perception is, and that's how we live. What's wrong with it, Swamiji? Is it wrong? That your consciousness confined there and consciousness confined there. Is it wrong? Is it wrong if I say, no, Swami, it's not wrong? Yes, we do namaskara, we do all of that is true. Meaning that this becomes the basis of our life, and so we respect that duality that we think. We hope that someday that division will come to an end. Tathaksharat vividas Swami bhavaha prajayanti tatra cha eva apiyanti. Similarly, hey Swami, O good looking one, the teacher addresses the disciple. O good-looking one, similarly also from Aksharam immutable, from the Brahman consciousness also emerge that many conscious beings as though emerge from there, merge back into that. The sparks emerge from fire, merge back into fire. No, Swami, spark emerges, we don't see it going back. So sparks emerge from fire and merge back into fire. Is that right or not? Listen again. Just wake up. That sparks emerge from fire, and where do they merge? The spark emerges there, isn't it? So it emerges from fire and merges where? The fire into the spark has emerged from fire, and where does it merge? Into the principle of fire. Although that particle flies, fire does not fly, the principle of light and heat. Therefore, the spark emerges from fire, is sustained by fire, merges back into fire. Therefore, the truth of all the sparks is nothing but one. So, kasmin bhagava vidite, what is it, having known which, everything becomes known. Knowing fire, you know how all the sparks, they appear to be sparks and many. What is one non-dual fire? So all there is one non-dual Atma or consciousness. So this is how this mantra is to give the to help us understand. This is the Mahavakya, in fact. What's the Mahavakya? A spark is nothing but fire. No, that we know. Similarly also, the sparks of consciousness as though are nothing but one limitless consciousness. Just as the limitedness of the spark belongs not to fire, it belongs to the wood, rupadhi. So also the limitedness of the consciousness belongs not to consciousness, belongs to this body-mind complex. Therefore, separate the two in the mind. When you see a red or orange crystal, separate the two in your mind. Recognize that orangeness belongs to the cloth, and the crystal, even when it appears orange, is in fact transparent, colorless, ever pure. Is it not so? The crystal, by nature, is pure, transparent, clear. It appears orange on account of and substance such as the cloth placed beside that. So even when the crystal appears orange, what it is clear, transparent. So also the consciousness appears as orange here, and yellow there, and blue there, and red here, and white elsewhere. But basically all that belongs to the costume. The consciousness is one, non-dual. So this is the beautiful example given for us to contemplate, to recognize the oneness in the many, where many is appearance, one appearing is man. Om. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.